There's been a huge influx of Sunbracer builds, but most of them have got it wrong. This build here lets you spam your solar grenades infinitely, all while keeping up restoration ×2 forever, so that you not only have the destructive potential, but also keep yourself alive as well. Now, restoration ×2 gives you so much health back per second that you always out heal any damage received. It's one of the most broken buffs and is so much better than restoration ×1. It requires a little bit more build crafting to achieve, but it's so worth it. So this build has multiple ways to heal yourself, one of which is continuous and never ending, infinite solar grenades, ignitions on demand which will help destroy those powerful enemies, radiant which will increase your weapon damage by 25%, and we can even get volatile rounds and overshields on top. It's absolutely ridiculous. It literally covers every base. You'll want to keep a close eye on my fragments, armor mods, and gameplay loop here, as they are very important if you want to have 100% uptime on all facets of the build. Dim link for the build will be in my Discord, link for which will be in the comments or description below. So at the heart of the build are the exotic Warlock gauntlets, the Sunbracers, which not only juice up your solar grenades so that they last twice as long as normal from 4 seconds to 8 seconds, but they also give you unlimited solar grenade throws for 5 seconds when you get a powered melee kill, which we achieve using our incinerator snap. Now, to get infinite restoration ×2, we need to combine both an aspect and a fragment with the ability Phoenix Dive. Now, Phoenix Dive recently got buffed so that it now provides 3 seconds of restoration when you dive down when you have heat rises active. So before you do anything, consume your grenade to activate heat rises, then float up, and you can dive down to activate restoration ×2. With Emperor of Empyrean, we can take this a step further and keep on extending the restoration timer through our solar grenade kills. So the final gameplay loop looks something like this. Consume your solar grenade and activate heat rises. Float up and use your incinerator snap to kill some enemies. This will then activate your Sunbracers infinite solar grenade spam. Use Phoenix Dive to dive down and start restoration ×2. Then float back up and keep spamming your solar grenades, which will extend the timer of restoration to a maximum of 12 seconds, which will keep on refreshing thanks to Emperor of Empyrean, and thanks to our aspect heat rises, solar kills in the air will refresh our melee energy as well. Once your timer runs out for infinite grenades, use your incinerator snap again to refresh the buff and carry on throwing solar grenades. When you completely run out of enemies and the timer for both restoration and heat rises runs out, you'll need to repeat this gameplay loop from the start again. It sounds a little complicated, but with the tiniest bit of practice, it becomes really easy and is so powerful. So let's go over the rest of our Solar 3.0 build. So we already mentioned our first aspect, heat rises. Our second aspect is going to be Touch of Flame, which makes our solar grenades last even longer and makes them cause more damage with the lava effect. We talked about Ember of Empyrean, which is absolutely key for extending the restoration timer. Ember of Solace extends radiant and restoration. Now, I would highly recommend this one because at the very start of your rotation, your restoration ×2 will only be up for 3 seconds, which means you have to get a solar kill very fast for Ember of Empyrean to kick in. With Ember of Solace, the first restoration is extended to 6 seconds, which is much more forgiving for the gameplay loop to extend that first restoration buff. Ember of Searing gives back melee energy when you defeat scorched targets, which you'll be doing constantly. And then Ember of Ashes I highly recommend because on harder enemies you can use combos like Incinerator Snap and Phoenix Dive to ignite them and destroy them. In general, without Ember of Ashes, you aren't going to achieve as many ignitions with this build. If you are confident in getting kills quickly, then you can replace Ember of Solace with something like Ember of Torches to get Radiant for a 25% damage boost, or you can go for Ember of Resolve to get even more healing when you defeat enemies with solar grenades. For our mods, on my helmet I run 2 stacks of Ashes to Asset so we get ridiculous super energy regeneration from our grenade kills. 1 Solar Siphon to create orbs from my energy weapon, and then on my gloves it's very important to run 1 Kickstart mod so that you can pick up orbs of power when you are full super energy. I prefer running melee Kickstart instead of grenade Kickstart because a melee kill is the limiting factor in the build to activating those infinite grenades. Then run Firepower so we generate tons of orbs of power from our grenade kills, and Momentum Transfer so grenade damage reduces melee cooldown. For your chest piece, run the relevant resistant mods, and then for your boots I recommend running 2 stacks of Invigoration and 1 stack of Absolution. so that we get the maximum amount of melee energy back when we pick up orbs of power. You'll have restoration times 2 up pretty much indefinitely, so you don't need healing mods from the build. And then on my class item, I run 2 stacks of outreach with 1 stack of distribution so that we maximize our melee energy when we use our Phoenix Dive even more. Contrary to what a lot of people recommend, you do not need grenade regeneration mods, as with Sunbracers you get infinite grenades once you get a melee kill, so my recommendation would be to focus the build in terms of mods to get your melee back. For your stat distribution, honestly the only stat you really need for this build is 100 resilience to maximize your resistance. Then in number 2, for me it's both joint discipline and strength. Discipline will reduce your grenade cooldown and is a rate limiting step when starting the gameplay loop when you consume your grenade to get heat rises, so it's nice to have this stat high. Strength is also a rate limiting step when you are trying to get a melee kill to activate Sunbracers, so both are important. As my mods were so melee focused, I went for higher discipline to balance it out instead. Then go for recovery, intellect and mobility in that order. Weapon recommendations, anything with incandescent is going to synergize with this build very well, but you can also use your artifact perks to activate volatile rounds and then use a weapon with a repulsor brace to get overshields on top, and honestly I think this is the way to go. So there you have it, my immortal Sunbracers build where you just never die. Infinite restoration, infinite grenades and infinite orb generation. It's one of the strongest Solar Warlock builds out there. If you enjoyed what I talked about today, remember to drop a like and subscribe to the channel for more Destiny builds, both PvE and PvP. I'm Mr. Ronit and that's it for today. Peace out guys.